And we've got, somebody I'm leaving out, Indiana going against Notre Dame.
Yeah, so obviously you got to start on that Friday night, that last game that you mentioned, the Indiana Hoosiers and Notre Dame Fighting Irish, the Indiana State Championship, right? Both teams beat Purdue handily, as a lot of teams did with the Boilermakers, that other Power Four team in the state. Both Indiana and Notre Dame actually hang 60 on Purdue each, 60 plus on Purdue each this season, but I'm excited for this one. This is one, I kind of look at, a lot of people got their eyes on Ohio State, Tennessee, and rightfully so. That 8-9 matchup certainly be a lot of fun. Penn State and SMU, maybe, and I'm sure we'll talk about this, but maybe not as close, right, as that Ohio State, Tennessee game. Maybe we'll see. Playoff time, anything can happen, certainly. But this Indiana Notre Dame game, I feel it can go a lot of different ways. Of course, when you first start talking about Notre Dame and the opponent for the Big Ten's Indiana Hoosiers, man, their run game is stout. It is great. Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price, Riley Leonard at quarterback has obviously been great this season. So they've been great. And Indiana, statistically, like, you can talk about their schedule, and that's fine. I get that. But their run defense is number one in the country. They're the only team in college football to allow less than 1,000 yards as a team defense this year, rushing, I should say. And then they're the only team in college football to allow less than 100 yards, or is it 80? No, it's 80 yards, I should say, per game, and they've allowed 70. So 70 rushing yards per game. So they've been stout, and this is going to be the big test, because if Indiana can hulk up, so to speak, up front against this Notre Dame run game, then what happens to Notre Dame? You get the ball into Riley Leonard's hands, you get him into multiple third and longs. What happens in that type of situation? Can they throw the ball against this Indiana defense? You look to the other side. The two games that Indiana struggled in this year were the games against Michigan and Ohio State. Michigan, they beat them by 5, and of course we all know the blowout loss to Ohio State and Columbus. The two problems with that is Indiana couldn't block. Right now they're the opposing defensive lines. I should finish my sentence, but here's the thing about those two defensive lines. They're pretty darn good. Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant up front for the Wolverines. You look at Ohio State all across the defensive line. It's fantastic. Like, Indiana went down against Ohio State. First drive of the game, put 7 on the board, and we're like, all right, this might be a football game. Looking forward to this one. And then Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator for Ohio State, says, yeah, enough messing around. Yeah, we're going to come after it. We're going to bring the pressure. And Indiana's offensive line just couldn't handle the pressure. So they've got to get their protections right, certainly in this one. Now, Notre Dame, do they have a defensive line like a Michigan? They have similar sack numbers to Michigan, but I don't know if they have the talent, right, that those type of first-round NFL draft picks that I talked about with Michigan. Same with Ohio State. So that's going to be, we'll see what type of challenge that's going to be for Indiana up front. But you got to think, if they can get protection and Curtis Rourke can throw this football around, right? They get up and down, they score points, and now Notre Dame's kind of playing catch up. I'm not sure if that fits exactly into Notre Dame's scheme and what they want to do, because they want to be able to run the football, control the clock, play from a lead, right, type of situation. And one last thing I'll kind of add with this Indiana Notre Dame game is, look at when Notre Dame has played fairly good passing attacks. Everybody talks about Indiana's schedule. Notre Dame's schedule is also not great. Not great, certainly.
Oh, yeah, agree.
So when you look at the Louisville game, Tyler Shuck threw for over 260, I believe, and 3 touchdowns. You look at the USC game, right? That game was going back and forth and back and forth. Now, I will say this, right, to kind of argue with myself, so to speak. That was the track mate, right? USC was scoring, Notre Dame was scoring. So Notre Dame was able to certainly go back and forth before a couple of pick sixes by Maeva late in that game kind of flipped it the other way. This is really interesting because if Rourke can sit back there and throw the football, they could have success. I think this is the best passing attack that Notre Dame's defense, they got an All-American safety and Xavier Watts back there, that Notre Dame's defense has seen all year long. I could see this one. We'll see what the weather's like. We'll see what the snow effect is going to be. I know it's going to be colder. We'll see just how much snow there is for this game in South Bend. But I know that this game could go up and down. I could see Indiana scoring in this game. I could see Indiana shut down like Ohio State did to them. I could see Notre Dame running the ball and, for 200, 250 yards. I could see them being stifled. Like, there's so many outcomes, I think, that are possible in this game. I think this one's going to be close. I think the line was sitting at 7.5, maybe, I believe, for Notre Dame. I feel pretty good about IU plus 7.5, but we'll see. It could certainly go in either direction.
Well, and the last time Notre Dame won a big game in the postseason was the 1994 Cotton Bowl, and they've had this reputation where they couldn't get it done.
It's been a minute.
Oh, yeah. So if Marcus Freeman can get it going for the Fighting Irish, that would be huge for his stock.
It would. I like Notre Dame. Like, I like Marcus Freeman. They just signed him to a big contract extension. Great move. He's clearly bought in there to certainly what they're doing. And I just like the way they play fundamentally sound power football, right? We saw last year in the Big Ten, like what Michigan was able to do, playing fundamentally sound power football. Not saying that these teams are a complete copy and paste from each other, because they're certainly not. But they're kind of they have that foundation of playing a physical brand of football up front, and it certainly shouldn't be something new that people expect out of Notre Dame. Notre Dame, even in the latter years of the Brian Kelly era, produced some really good offensive linemen. They produced some really good tight ends as well. So Marcus Freeman has been able to carry on that tradition, and then maybe just take it up a notch, certainly with the run game and with the defense as well. And of course, the only one round of the playoffs is on campus, but this is kind of the type of team that you want built for a cold weather home playoff game, right? You want a team that is physical. You want a team that wants to be able to run the football, to be able to deal with the elements, to play good defense, and especially when you're taking on a team in Indiana they can certainly run the football. They've got a stable of backs that can do it, but a team like Indiana that I think wants to lean in to the pass game. I really like this game because it's styles make fights, and I think there's two different styles that are going to fight in this game, and we'll see who wins out.
Well, and if Indiana was to beat Notre Dame in South Bend, it would be the first time since 1899, I believe.
Yeah, and they haven't played a lot. That's kind of the one. Well, who knows? Maybe Curt Cignetti is trying to find any motivation. He certainly can, but Notre Dame has always had that in-state rivalry. I shouldn't say always, because ever since their ACC scheduling deal, they don't play Purdue as much. They don't play Purdue as much. They don't play Michigan certainly as much. They don't play Michigan State. Just all those traditional teams that maybe outside of USC,
makes me cry.
Right, that they haven't played. Those group of teams that they played or across the country, I should say. So, but yeah, maybe, I say, hey, they didn't want to play. Curt Cignetti might be saying, hey, they didn't want to play us for all these years, right? They wanted to do their in-state rival with that other school in West Lafayette. So we'll see. Kurt's found a way to kind of keep his guys motivated, certainly throughout the season. So it should be a lot of fun.
Well, and he did learn from the best from Coach Saban. As a matter of fact, I remember where he helped Coach Saban build his first staff at Alabama.
Yeah, he was a big, and when I've been listening to Curt Cignetti this season, right, when they were racking up all those wins and they were undefeated, and everybody, including myself, was saying great things about them and how great they were and how wonderful their team was. He just comes out and they'd be up 30-10 or something like that, and he'd have that scowl on his face. There's one shot I just remember him. I think it was the UCLA game, right, where they were early in the season, where they were beating them, and they were beating them by a lot. And he's just got this scowl on his face when they're ahead by 20, 25, 30 points, whatever it was. And, he's got that Nick Saban mindset where he's always coaching. He's always looking to get better. And then when you kind of go to the press conference room, he didn't say it specifically, but, we always know Nick Saban talked about rat poison. And Curt Cignetti kind of had that certainly as well, where he finds every little thing he can to kind of motivate his team. And certainly he wants to stay away from people like myself telling them how great they were, and they were great certainly this season. So some people in Big Ten country have loved Curt Cignetti. Others maybe think he's a little bit too brash. I love him. I love a guy that can come into a place like Indiana that has not had any really success, even though they did develop Michael Penix. Kalen DeBoer was also on that staff with Tom Allen in the 2019 and 2020 seasons there in Bloomington. But, overall, they haven't had a ton of success. I think that's fair to say, certainly in their program. But I love a guy like Curt being able to go in there year one, flip this team, turn it around, sign a contract extension, be there for the long haul, and say, yeah, we're going to make Indiana a winner.
Yeah, I just don't see Cignetti leaving Indiana for any place. This is his last stop, in my opinion.
It certainly seems that way. And obviously signing that contract extension during the offseason certainly signifies that as well. When you look at Cignetti, so Cignetti's 63 years old. All right. So age has got to be factored into this, maybe a little bit. Certainly right now. And here's the thing about Indiana is they have proven that they are willing to invest in this program. Maybe if they didn't get the NIL investment, they might not be as successful as they are. So everything's got a domino effect. But if they didn't have that NIL investment, then maybe Curt would be in a position to go elsewhere. But there's clearly everybody's bought in. Everybody's bought in at IU right now in today's day and age of college football. Right. Everybody from the top down has to have the same vision, right? From the president to the athletic director, to the head coach, to his coaching staff. There needs to be a financial investment into these football programs. And clearly at Indiana, everybody's bought in, right? Everybody's bought into certainly what Curt Cignetti is doing. There's some other schools out there, some that exist in the Big Ten, some that have seen a lot of players exiting the transfer portal this week that aren't exactly bought in at every level. And maybe alignment, right? That's something that's kind of a buzzword out there when a head coach gets hired. Hey, we all got alignment. And people think, what does that really mean? Well, it means that, once again, from the president to the AD to the head coach to the coaching staff to the players, everybody's got the same vision. Everybody is bought in, because if people aren't on the same page, you see what's maybe been happening out in Southern California with some of these things where maybe the financial investment isn't at the level or interest of maybe where a coaching staff certainly wants it to be. But Indiana, they are clearly bought in to everything that's happening and all the success that they're having in Bloomington.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure.